Hello everybody, I'm trying to do my intro in the tune of this song. I don't know how long I can hold it on, but hi everybody, let's start loading the game. Not sure how well that panned out, but hey, we're back in court after doing another investigation. But I'm sure the police report will come back, there'll be no poison in the tea, and everyone can get on with their lives. Oh boy, zoom out, zoom out, zoom out! Much better. This is it then, Mr. Naruhodo. Yes, it's time to put an end to this now. To the miserable curse that has been plaguing Mr. Natsume, to everything. And in my own small way, I shall do everything I can to help you. I always appreciate your help, Miss Susato. Suffering Soseki selfishly sidelined! Good morning to you too, Mr. Natsume. Good morning! Good morning! Welcome, student Mr. Naruhodo Esquire! Listen to you two, chatting away happily as if the main player of today's trial isn't here! Why would you do that? Why? Oh dear, we didn't mean to cause offense, Mr. Natsume. I thought perhaps that because you had your eyes shut so tightly, you were meditating, finding inner calm. It seemed wrong to disturb you. I was waiting! What's the matter, Mr. Natsume? You seem different somehow today. Why, naturally, that's because I've attained spiritual enlightenment. The path of literature, you see, is a journey to discover one's own death. Or such like. But that's the sort of morning conversation I was hoping for. That's why I had my eyes shut. I missed the signs, I'm afraid. Somehow. You'll have to forgive me. And you mustn't talk of your path leading you to death, Mr. Natsume. That was just an example! I can't help but peeking when I do Soseki. He's such a nervous wreck. One sympathizes. Oh yes, there it is. Inner calm. You barely came to see me at all yesterday. I was busy trying to get you out of jail. Plus, a lot of the times I was visiting, you weren't there. I was sure... Oh, I was sure you abandoned me and returned to our beautiful long-lost homeland. We've not even been in Great Britain a week yet. Yeah, well, anyway. I intend to set everything straight in court today. I'm determined to uncover the truth. I've actually reached an important decision myself. Oh, what sort of decision? I shall fill you in after the trial. All right. It would seem Mr. Sholmes isn't coming today after all. It's a very clever message, I think. My dear fellows, you must win this battle on your own merits. It's a very clear message, I think, that he's overslept again. The great detective, my arch nemesis. Why may he stay away, if you ask me? Defendant and your Reaper representative. The trial is about to begin. Make your way into the courtroom immediately. I don't know where that voice came from. Let's just enjoy it while it's gone. Today, once again, we face the Reaper. When the Reaper stands for the prosecution, the defendant's fate is sealed. But I don't believe in that legend any more than I believe in Soseki-san's curse. The truth is hidden here somewhere. I won't let it escape me. I have to keep believing in my client, and keep fighting to the very end. That's all! Back in the Old Bailey? With this stupid jury. This stupid jury that shouldn't even be here. They've all got contaminated. But the game doesn't give you an option to call for a mistrial, so here we are. Oh, ho, ho, in the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I hereby declare this court to be in session. I call upon the counsels of the prosecution and defense to declare their willingness to proceed. The prosecution is ready. Yeah, how can you look at that pose and not think he just got out of a coffin? Yes, the defense is ready. Very good. And now I call upon the 6 ladies and gentlemen of the jury, chosen by lot to represent... No, they weren't! They weren't! This is a lie! Van Zyke said, last time we were in here, that most of these people were just picked again because they were jury members in Soseki's first trial. Also, big red flag. I don't want to... I mean, I've long since dove into the Cinema Sins ding for this game because I'm just that petty. But this is annoying. Because they weren't, and the game admitted that. But are they ready to proceed? Absolutely! Justice will be done, you mark my words! I feel obliged to say I feel especially ruthless on days when my hat is sitting just right. Oh, well, I wonder if you could adjust my hat for me, and please be as ruthless as you like. Thieves deserve to die, if you ask me, especially gas thieves. I have no sympathy for the man at all. Look, I said it yesterday and I'll say it again now. I don't have time for this. I got my own problems. Oh, may the Lord show us the light here and lead his flock into the righteous verdict again today. Now, Lord Van Zykes, what can you tell us? Sorry, I'm sleeping still. The prosecution's report, please, for the court. In relation to the theory expounded by the defense yesterday regarding the defendant's tea. Ah, so he does have the results. Allow me to pour some of the tea into my own hallowed chalice. Before the prosecution delivers the black news about the black tea belonging to the black god in the dock, pray allow me a moment to savor a liquid of a more sanguine hue. In fact, I'll defer to the good detective for the report. Here's to you, Inspector. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Now, hold on, I have to bury my chin in my chest. As indicated by the defense, we found a bar of soap just outside the victim's window in the snow. And there was indeed a frozen reddish liquid in a little depression on the top of it. Yes, that's the tea. That's what Mr. Natsume brought with him that night. Well, the brains of the yard analyzed it, and yes, you're right, it was tea. And there wasn't a trace of strychnine or any other toxic substance in it. No poison at all? In other words, the tea that the defendant brought with him to the victim's room is innocent. It's in the clear. Now watch Van Zyke say, but there was clearly some other way he poisoned Shamspeer. Case closed, kill the man. Here we go. What a revelation! Now quick, have the whole jury vote not guilty before we move on. Case closed, case closed. As I suspected. This makes it quite clear. The defendant, Mr. Soseki Natsume, is blameless. My learned friend is jumping to conclusions again. A typical Nipponese reaction. What? Yes, it's true. No poison was found in a few drops of liquid recovered from the soap on the window ledge. But! What logic is that? Oh, you gotta be fucking kidding me. Would you take a drop from the Thames and conclude that the water in the ocean isn't salty? But the Thames is a river before it reaches the ocean! Oh my god. That is not even an analogous analogy. Yeah, he's drunk. But I'm tired. My word! The water in the ocean is extremely salty, Counts. Oh my god. Okay, so this is how we find out just how dumb the judge is. Exactly. Unfit for drinking, just as the victim's tea was on the night in question, as the court has already heard. Bitter was the precise word from the lips of Mr. William Shamspeer, whom the prosecution now calls back to the stand. Very well. I will uphold the prosecution's request. Mr. Shamspeer. Yes, it sounds like we're going to have another confrontation with our theatrical friend. And I get to keep trying out my Valley Theater... What do you call that? The Valley Thespian voice. What fun. Bailiff, show Mr. Shamspeer to the stand. Mr. William Shamspeer, the victim of this despicable crime. Oh heaven, oh hell, do you command me to remember? Forsooth, 'twas I, Shamspeer, did have a bellyful of the foul fluid given in mine innocence. Yes, but as was revealed in yesterday's proceedings, the witness is not as innocent as we perhaps first been led to believe. By using bars of soap such as this, he has been stealing gas from the supply company, yes. One may smile and be a villain. Forsooth, 'twas I, Shamspeer, did have a roomful of the sweet fuel given. That's right, fellow jurors, don't forget, this man is a rotten thief! I haven't forgotten. Kept all that all about the ice coins a tight a secret, didn't you? You could have owned up sooner. Arrest him, I say. Arrest him at once and let him feel the sting in my tail. Oh, indeed. By dint of vile and cowardly means have I plotted to further my own ends, I confess. Thou wouldn't not pardon my sins, of that I'm sure. If you acknowledge your wrongdoing, what exactly are you doing here? Cowards die many times before their deaths. And for a coward such as I, death be well deserved. But would it still be oh boy, reset. Would it be, oh my god, I have to slap myself like Ryunosuke. Would it that a still greater crime passed us unpunished? For lo, the hairy-faced gentleman of farther east than Verona did contrive to poison me.
Objection!
But there was no poison in the tea found in your room. The police have attested to that. But the defense would assert as an inconsistency will be quickly cleared up by the witness's testimony. Is that not so, Mr. Shamspeer? Verily, my liege, I would most gladly speak. Very well. Let the witness testify to explain this inconsistency. Tell the court why it is that poison apparently entered your body though none was found in the tea. This is going to be a long night, folks. Buckle up. The Japanese man did come to my chamber with tea brewed in a pot. 'Twas in my cup alone that the wicked miscreant secretly poured his wicked poison. Whilst feigning distraction in our debate, near did drop of his own drink pass his lips. When he departed by and by, I did use the tea that remaineth in his cup to make my coins of ice. 'Tis no surprise that the poison be not found in the tea I did pour into the molds of soap. Okay, well, we already inspected the teacups, and we know Soseki-san drank his fast. There was no stain. The poison was slipped into the cup after the tea had been poured. The normal way for poison to be administered, in my experience. Okay, hold on, this story got more interesting. Quite. Otherwise it would be disastrous if the poisoner were to mix up the cups, for instance. But no poison bottle was found at the scene. Because, quite simply, the Nipponese took the bottle back to his own room. Something the witness has said nothing about this whole time, and didn't even say in the recent testimony. Good job, Van Zykes. The absence of a vessel containing the poison only becomes problematic when considering suicide. I knew that. By now it should be perfectly clear. A bar or two of chip soap is wholly insufficient to wash the deep stains of guilt from the accused's hands. Sirs, madams, 'tis true that I, Shamspeer, be a common thief of gas. But, listen here, ladies and gentlemen. Wherefore would I lie? Verily, I have no cause. I have naught to lose. Well, I do declare. I still don't know juror number 3's voice. Thank you for your testimony, witness. Counsel, proceed with the cross-examination. Yes, my lord. So, let me double check. There's no T-ring on the inside of Mr. Natsume's cup. Okay, great. So, we can go to... And stop right there, because this proves you wrong.
Objection!
You claim that Mr. Natsume didn't drink a drop of tea on the night in question. Oh, nope, back up. But that's impossible. How, Shopalogic? Probably said that wrong. What is this of ye dark, ye clad fiend? The two teacups from the scene, one used by the victim and the other used by the defendant, have a clear difference between them. One that represents incontrovertible proof. Incontrovertible? What difference? Look at the inside of the cups. Just here. There's a clearly visible ring. Yes, a tea ring. Commonplace enough. Indeed, such stains occur all too readily when one leaves tea in a cup for a while. And yet, Mr. Natsume's cup has no such ring. Good lord, you're right! It's completely clean! And pray thee, sir, what makest thou of it? Exactly what Mr. Natsume told the court yesterday. The Japanese saying he quoted. Drink? Tea? Well, it's hot! That's right, yes. The jittery Mr. Natsume was true to his usual self that night and drank his tea in no time. If, as you claim in your testimony, he didn't touch a drop of his tea, a ring would have developed on the inside of his cup as well, after the several hours the tea was left standing. But, in short, Mr. Shamspeer, you clearly lied to the court. Again. Are we gonna bring up perjury again? No?
Objection!
Also, he hammed it up a bit there. I missed it. Sorry. As a rule, I fill my hallowed chalice up to 7 times during my one trial. You might want to keep that information to yourself. And I'm doing it again! Yet on occasion, tedium distracts me, and I pour more times than I intended until the bottle is dry. And then I heave the bottle into the audience with wild abandon. Your drinking habits are fascinating, but irrelevant. On the contrary, they illustrate the fickleness of human memory. To William Shamspeer. Yes, my liege! Though you previously stated that you made the coins of ice from the leftover tea in the accused's cup, could it be that you were perhaps mistaken? Eh? Could it be that, yes, perhaps there was some tea remaining in the small teapot left at the scene? A fact that had vanished from your memory until now. Leading the witness, Your Honor. Objection. No, you're just gonna sit there? What are you doing with that stocking, Judge? Hey! Over here! Faith, my liege, thou art a magician! For verily, 'tis as though thou hast seen with thine own eyes at night. What? Forsooth, I was mistook! I did plan to use the tea from the Japanese fellow's cup, but lo, when I looked, 'twas empty. And thus did I use the dregs that festered in the teapot, as my liege did suggest. Objection! And you've just suddenly remembered now that you made a mistake before? Are we supposed to believe that?
Objection!
People's memories are imperfect, my learned friend, which is why we rely on evidence instead. Also incorrect, because witness testimony is also evidence. The credibility of a witness is always something a jury should consider, and does. But in any case, it makes no difference. The victim's most recent testimony tells us 2 things of note. Firstly, that the poison was put into the victim's teacup only. And secondly, that the spoiled cup was not the source of the insipid ice coins that bewitched this court. The prosecution makes a fine summary of the facts. It does? What? Except the fact that the witness already lied. Twice. Furthermore, the testimony remains valid and in full support of the established facts. No, it doesn't! God damn it. In other words, the inconsistently claimed by the defense simply does not exist. Ah, shit, his theme's coming in. Dance break. No! I knew he was thief from the start. Oh, come on. Juror number 4 cannot be falling for this crap. My lords, ladies, and gentlemen of the jury, I do solemnly swear, after I did dine at Grubb's Grubbery Alehouse that night, naught did pass my lips, but the black tea given me by the Japanese, whose back be stooped as low as death. And on what did you dine, sir? Why, I did partake of my favorites, a broth as would be called soup, and a leaf that would be called salad. As insalubrious as menu as the establishment where it was served. But you gods will give us some fault to make us men. Willingly would I suffer that punishment 'tis seen fit to serve a wicked thief of gas. But I pray ye wise and noble fellows never forget the simple truth. That be one thing and this be another. Jurors all, your humble servant Shamspeer doth entreat you, punish the Japanese fellow for his sins. My lord! Is that Saseki? No, it's the fucking foreman. Damn it. Are they gonna do this again? Why is the gas lady in on this? If I may speak, my lord. Yes, Mr. Foreman? I believe we may have been duped by that rotten defense lawyer. By me? I do declare we may be right. We all know the waif here was making coins of ice to keep himself warm. But this lawyer lad says if he's stealing gas, he deserves a dose of poison, eh? He's been leading us the garden path, that's what he's been doing. I really never said anything like that. What we just heard from the victim here has opened our eyes again. We've reached a decision this time, and we won't be swayed from it. The court acknowledges the position of the jury foreman, and will duly hear the jury's findings. What? No, you can't yet. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you will state your decisions now. Guilty!
Guilty. Guilty. Guilty.
Guilty.
Juror number 4, no! I hereby declare the jury to be in one accord. Oh, happy day! Oh, hold on. This deserves a screen cap. Loop that animation again. Nope. Okay, fine. We'll just do this then. One more hip. To the left. There we go. That should be enough. Is anyone in this courtroom qualified for their positions? I don't know. I don't think so. Even Van Sykes is just too much of a lush. How is this happening? My lord, the defense asserts its right to carry out a summation examination. Very well, the court upholds the defense's right. Typical. My learned friends unable to accept the obvious truth. This trial will therefore enter its second summation examination immediately, where I'm sure will be the final summation examination, said nobody ever. Jurors, the court calls upon each of you to state the grounds upon which you find the defendant guilty of the crime of which he's been charged. Summation! I got the title wrong. I'm a man of logic, me. Having considered all the evidence, the defendant must logically be guilty. I do agree that gas is far too expensive. I can quite understand why the man would want to avoid paying. The stuff explodes and it can poison you. It's obviously lethal, gas is. What does that have to do with this? Gas doesn't come for free. It costs a fortune to deliver it around the city and maintain the pipes. Okay, again, what? 3 of you have said something about gas, yet nothing about this actual case. It's not even about the credibility of Shamspeer now. I'm losing my mind! Truth be told, the tea my wife serves up for me is a little sketchy at times. If nothing else passed the victim's lips that night, there's no other explanation, is there? The closest any of you have come to this is juror number 6, and that's the one who's been praying to God this whole time. Welcome to Tiny Training World. The summations are usually, I hate this guy, and I want to go home, and I eat lead paint. Point. Yeah, exactly. I do feel that perhaps personal opinion about gas and its supply has influenced decisions somewhat. Exactly. I call for a directed verdict. We cannot trust this jury at all. But never mind, of course. No, you really should mind. The truth is, our counter-argument wasn't as unassailable as we hoped. Okay. Mr. Shamspeer was poisoned. There can be no doubt of that. Then how are we supposed to turn this around? I think we need to establish the method by which Mr. Shamspeer was actually poisoned. Our only hope is to demonstrate that to the court incontrovertibly. But that's surely almost impossible at this stage. If we don't manage it, though, Mr. Natsume will be found guilty. No delays, Counsel. Proceed with the summation examination. Just look at this guy back here. Look at him. So smug. Boo on you, Shamspeer. I'm picking your nose. Deal with it. Alright, well... there's nothing to do with that statement. Man, where do I even start? Am I just going to be pressing everybody's statements at this point? Yeah, you know what? Go back. Because they all, aside from juror number 6, they all said something wacky. So fine, I'll start with you. All the evidence you say? That's right. And there's no room for doubt. It's all point at that Japanese man with the big mustache. He says the Englishman with the bigger mustache. Which means we need to show the man some new evidence to make him change his mind. If only we had that kind of evidence. Don't worry, this summation examination is barely started, really. Perhaps there'll be a shift in the situation that shows an existing piece of evidence in new light. Let's hope so! To start with, though, I need to find some way out of this deadlock. Fine, Miss Honeybee. Let's go with you. You're the one that's actually pro-gas. You'd think the jury would turn on you for that.
Hold it!
Can we please refrain from all this talk of gas? There's an all-out attack underway here, in case you hadn't noticed, against my company's gas. And I'm supposed to sit here and take it, am I? I don't think so. She's really buzzing now. Okay, hit that pun harder, why don't you? All I've heard about are wonderful fuels, explosions, and poisonings. What about electricity? What about getting electrocuted? What about that? A little explosion here and there is nothing in comparison. Any explosion could hardly be described as nothing, madam. Nevertheless, the theft of your gas is deplorable. My point exactly, but the gas thieves aren't even the worst of our enemies. We have far more obvious reprobates to contend with on a daily basis, you know. More devious? Who, madam? Other gas companies, of course. Other gas companies? Not quite what I was expecting. We generate gas and we deliver it to our customers fair and square. Indeed, nobody is questioning that, madam. Altamont is an exemplary gas company. But there are other unscrupulous gas companies here in London that don't even have any gas at all. What? But if they don't have any gas, how do they go about selling it to people? You wouldn't think it possible, would you? But they steal our gas, you see, and sell that. They steal your gas? How on earth is such a thing possible? Gas companies like ours deliver gas to people's homes via a network of pipes. But these devious reprobates secretly disconnect our pipes and divert our gas into their own rotten pipes. Then they make a contract with the household supplied by those pipes and take money for the precious gas that's rightfully ours without us even knowing. They're diverting gas into their own pipes legally. What a brazen form of theft. When we visit customers' houses to collect the money from their meters, we always have to check whether or not one of these devious companies has been up to its tricks. Speaking of... Well, that's a face. Hold on. Look over here, sir. And over there? There we go. So, hey, excuse me.
Excuse me.
Do you have something to say about that, juror number 3? Oh, great. I really have to figure out this guy's voice now. Oh, golly, you mean me? I'm terribly sorry. I was just thinking to myself. I really did catch him off guard there. Thinking about what the lady next to you was saying, correct? Well, yes. I just got a little right about it recently, you see? Go on. An Altamont gas worker visited my house the other day to investigate the pipework. We need to ask you for your cooperation while we carry out the secret check of your property, sir, the fellow said. So I let him in. And do you know what he did? I'm afraid I have no idea. Please tell us. He proceeded to take out one of my lights. He proceeded to take one of my lights off the wall. Then he grabbed the exposed mouth of the pipe and started blowing into it. What do you think you're doing, young man? You're giving away company secrets there. Oh, please, everybody knows. It's very nearly the death of me, I can tell you. What do you mean? I'll explain if you don't mind. As I said before, these unscrupulous other gas companies connect their customers to our pipe network. Yes, but how does blowing into the pipes come into it? Obviously, there's gas in the pipes, and it's at a very low pressure. By blowing air through the pipe, you can make the pressure drop temporarily. And if you do that, any lights connected to the same pipe will flicker for a moment. Ah, I see. In other words, upon blowing into the pipe, the lights of an adjacent property that has no contract with your company flicker, you can know that these are devious scoundrels that have been milling with the pipes. Exactly, my lord. That's it in a nutshell. That's the reason why we have teams of workers going around neighborhoods to visit which lights flicker. The trouble is, the particular worker who came to my house didn't know the strength of his own breath. He blew down the pipe with all his might, and you can guess what happened, can't you? Well, if he blew hard, then... Wait, you mean... That's right, the lights didn't just flicker, they went out, along with the stove. Gas started pouring into the house. What a disaster. And oh hey, now we know a solution for that stove problem Soseki was having. The gas supply must have been interrupted briefly because the man blew too hard, so the flames went out. I'm afraid I yelled at the fellow. Are you trying to kill us all, I said? So by disconnecting a lamp and blowing into the exposed gas pipe, it's possible to extinguish lamps and stoves connected to the same network of pipes. And then when the gas starts flowing again, it just silently seeps into the room. Mr. Naruhodo, I think perhaps... Yes, this is almost certainly the clue we've been hoping for. Juror number 3, the defense requests that you amend your statement to include that information. Oh, well, if you like. I don't mind. Well, I do! That's our company's secret method of identifying the rogues that try to diddle us. Like I said, madam, it's widely known already. We'll just ignore the fact that the gas companies are diddling each other. Very well, juror number 3, you will amend your statement accordingly. Yes, my lord, although I'm not really sure what the point of all this is. Uh-huh. Yeah, so that, no. Okay, yeah, so Shamspeer blew into the pipe to try and kill Soseki, which is why all this is why he's blaming Soseki now. So, pit you against you.
Objection!
Those two statements clearly contradict each other. Good gracious. To whose statements do you refer, counsel? Your Honor, I'm pointing at the juror. Juror number 6, did you hear what juror number 3 just said?
Oh, what? Yes, of course. I heard him mumbling about something or other.
There is another explanation here, I believe. Something besides Mr. Natsume's key did, in fact, in a manner of speaking, pass the victim's lips on the night in question.
What? What explanation?
I wonder, did the police check the mouth of the gas pipe feeding the wall light at the scene to see if there were any traces of poison there? I was curious to see what your floundering would result in this time, but the mouth of a gas pipe? Scotland Yard have enough to do without exploring such irrelevance. What a piece of work is a man! What are you trying to say, Mr. Shamspeer? What speakest thou? Prithee, is it not strange and strange? That is what I say to thee, sir! I thought I'd been quite clear, but let me put it another way. The strychnine could have been on the mouth of the gas pipe that feeds the wall lamp in your room. And that is how the poison came into your body. Wow, this is a reach.
Good lord!
Are they tasty then, gas pipes? Is that what he's saying? Or is the gentleman suggesting that the poor man was so desperately hungry he tried to fill his belly with gas? Perhaps no actress would perform a kiss scene with him, For shame, madam, speaking thy the fancy. I assure you I'm not such a buffoon that I have to kiss pipes.
Objection!
This is no summation examination, this is a farce. The prosecution will not stand for any more of my learned Nipponese friend's conjecture. To begin with, the lamp in the victim's room is high on the wall. In order to have placed his lips on the pipe that feeds it, he would have to be a contortionist. These are empty assertions. There is no possible proof that the man did as you say.
Objection!
It's true, I have no proof that Mr. Shamspeer puts his lips to the pipe. Phrasing. However, I can say with some certainty that on multiple occasions, Mr. Shamspeer has been doing something in front of the lamp on the wall. I have evidence to prove it. Duh. Alright, you got our attention, lad. I'd like to see how you can be so sure of yourself. As would I. Let's see the evidence then. Now that I've got the jury's ear, I need to make this opportunity count. This is the proof that time and time again, Mr. Shamspeer has stood in front of his gas lamp. Yep, that. It's that. Also, are they really going to do this again like they did in Case 5? That you have science that we do not accept, therefore get out. Let's find out what it's this.
Take that!
What the? These are, wait, what are they called? Yes, skin prints that were found at the scene. Skin prints, counsel? I've never heard of such things. The Justice Ministry is currently assessing whether or not to permit fingerprints as evidence in court, however. My lord, this is an exciting new forensic technique developed by the great detective, Mr. Herlock Sholmes. Herlock. It reveals all the places Mr. Shamspeer touched in his room. I've never seen anything like it. It's like black magic, isn't it?
Well, if anyone could invent something like this, it's that great Sholmes fellow, that's for sure.
I agree. This month's edition of Engineering Thumbs was quite fascinating. We found skin prints in many places that you would expect, on the table, on the costumes. However, Mr. Shamspeer also appears to have been touching some very unexpected places in his room. For example, here. And that's why the box was there, under the lamp. The box was actually relevant, folks. The box was relevant! Around the hanging picture here, indeed, multiple handprints appear to be visible. Could he have been appreciating the artwork, perhaps? At first, my colleagues and I thought the same. However, imagine standing with your hands where those prints are, and you would find yourself directly in front of... Ah! I don't believe it. The gas lamp! Though the reason why isn't immediately obvious, it's clear that Mr. Shamspeer has rarely been standing with his hands to the wall in front of that lamp. Right. What have you been up to, you nut? I'd ask the court to recall juror number 4's earlier statement. Me? What did I say? You said that blowing into a gas pipe would make the lights in the entire building flicker. And now, if you recall juror number 3's statement... What? Me now? When the gas worker who visited his own blew with too much force into the pipe, it caused all the lights in the gas stove to go out, and gas to start leaking into the rooms. Obviously, that incident was an accident. However, the simple fact is, if Mr. Shamspeer were to have blown hard into the gas pipe here in his room, he could have extinguished every other light and gas stove in the building at will. Crockett! I can't do an Australian accent. Oh, are you suggesting that the man purposely caused the gas to...
Objection!
And he's gonna say, why? Whilst I acknowledge that the prosecution is required to remain silent during the summation examination, I must toast my learned friends utter disregard for the letter of the law. What is the meaning of this, Lord Van Zykes? This curious photograph, or whatever it is, presented by the defense, the so-called skin prints. Clearly that cannot be accepted as any form of usable evidence in this case. But it's an exciting new forensic technique developed by a great detective. It's nothing. A mere toy developed by an amateur sleuth with too much time on his hands. Gah! Clearly. Certainly, even research of this nature by the esteemed Mr. Sholmes cannot be recognized by the court as formal evidence.
Hold it!
Please, my lord, if I may. Mr. Zato, it was not the defense's intention to it was not the defense's intention to submit the skin prints as formal evidence. We merely wish to present the results of the great detective's investigation of the scene, as a tool by which to explain a possibility to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury. And if the trial were to come to an end now, we should never learn the truth behind these mysterious handprints that everyone has now seen. I don't believe we can now allow that to happen, and I'm sure the jurors would agree. You're right! Whether those strange handprints are a significant clue or not, it's down to us to decide. Juror number 3. Oh yes, I do declare the great detective's investigation results sound absolutely fascinating. And I want to hear what the shady actor fella has to say about those shady handprints. What's the matter with you two? That was foolhardy.
Well, I did say it, didn't I? I don't like to break a promise.
No, wait! Your his lordship is not fair. It's not fair, Duncan evidence.
I don't care, bitch.
Oh, well done, Mr. Naruhodo. If just one more juror changes his or her mind, Mr. Natsume's trial will have to continue. Thank you, Mr. Zato, but I couldn't have done it without you. Oh no, it was you who identified the clue after all. This was very much your success. Hold on. Alright, getting a lot of thumbnail fodder this time. Why, Mr. Shamspeer, you seem to be losing your composure. Just one more juror, Mr. Naruhodo. You can do it! Very well, continue, counsel. Alright, so we now have that. Do I have to press it again? I can't pit you against anybody. Fine, let's... We've already known that doing something twice is not entirely unproductive.
Hold it!
All the evidence you say? Uh-huh. You have a bigger mustache, my friend. Mustache. But the defense just demonstrated another possible explanation for the events on the night in question. What do you make of that? What, your so-called skin prints? It's an exciting new forensic investigation technique developed by the great detective himself. The numerous handprints on the wall are clearly out of the ordinary. And Mr. Shamspeer had indeed put his mouth to the gas pipe on the night in question. It can't be denied that there's a possibility that's where the poison was. Well, yes, I won't deny that it's plain on my mind. But as the prosecution rightly says, we should pay no heed to unacceptable forms of evidence. And besides, yes, even if the fellow has been up to some mischief with the gas pipes a dozen of times before, it doesn't mean he got up to the same shenanigans on the night in question, does it? No. If you can't make your case better than that, I'm afraid I can't change my stance. You do make a valid point, sir. What? That's true. Perhaps it was a little hasty. No, wait! Look, you got your chance here, haven't you? So it's time to prove your theory. If you and your Japanese cohorts can, that is. Just leave our nationality out of this, please. Mr. Naruhodo, if we can't substantiate our position, I'm afraid the jurors that changed their minds before may very well change them back. What can I do? Is there any more proof I can give here? Can I show that Mr. Shamspeer really did blow down the gas pipe the night in question? You have supporting testimony, because the stove went out that night. No, in truth, I don't have evidence to support my theory. Yes, you do! Testimony is evidence. However, there is witness testimony that substantiates it. What's that? Testimony? This is incredible! Whose testimony? Yes, it's all connected. Everything is linked. A person whose testimony revealed details about the gas in the Garadeb residence that night. Namely, someone who already wow, that's a great photo. I almost want to say you, but you didn't testify, so it's gonna have to be Soseki.
Take that!
Obviously, I'm talking about the defendant. Mr. Soseki Natsume himself. The defendant? At the very beginning of the proceedings here in the court today. Oh wait, was Male Strongheart on that list? I didn't pick Male Strongheart. Dang it. At the very beginning of the proceedings here in court yesterday, Mr. Natsume said the following. My lodgings! There's been a whole series of strange happenings in my lodgings! Like that. Even on the fatal night it happened, I could return from Mr. Shamspeer's room. I lit my gas stove and climbed to bed, but before I long, the stove went out. There's somebody trying to kill me. You see, like that. On the night in question, the gas in the defendant's room went out. So I asked the court, was that a mere coincidence or not?
Good golly!
So that Shamspeer fellow blew the air into the gas pipe to make the man's stove go out on purpose? Hold your horses here. What would he do that for? Well, clearly some reason he's sweating bullets over there. Mr. Foreman. What is it, man? We cannot allow judgment to be passed while this doubt remains. It's true that I don't have conclusive evidence yet, however. You must surely agree. There is more to this case than meets the eye. Ugh! Fair enough. Like I said at the outset, I'm a man of logic first and foremost. That's 4 jurors leaning towards not guilty, my lord. We've overturned the decision. Therefore, the defense calls for the trial to continue. As the defense has rightfully indicated, the summation examination has concluded with the majority of jurors altering their decisions. 2 jury members now called guilty, 4 now called not guilty. Therefore, the jury's opinion is conflicted, and in accordance with the law of this land, I hereby order a continuation of this trial. The continuation of the... Mr. William Shamspeer! My lord, how can thy humble Shamspeer serve thee? What say you in response to the various revelations made during the summation examination? So God mend me, I do solemnly swear, I call aught of neither the lamp or the pipe. But your handprints have been tied in mess all over the wall there. I'd explain that, eh?
My leg!
I am done this. The dignity of this great courtroom has been sullied enough already. Juror number 5. Who, me? As I went to some pains to point out already, the print from the self-professed detective's toy has no place in the British court of law. As such, whether or not this man did indeed stand before the gas lamp with his hands against the wall remains at this time unestablished conjecture. You will all do well to remember that.
Objection!
But the prosecution must concede that it would be extremely simple to verify. Just order the mouth of the gas pipe feeding the lamp in Mr. Shamspeer's room to be examined. If there are traces of poison there.
Objection!
What appears to be extremely simple is my nipple-knees friend's mind. You will recall that in order to check for the presence of poison in the tea, some remnants of the tea were required. Yes? Therefore, it shouldn't be beyond your wit to imagine that if the poison there had been spread on the pipe, it would have completely evaporated by now, making any analysis impossible. I didn't think of that. In any case, Counsel, I fail to see what could possibly have motivated the man to do as you describe. Why on earth would this fellow have wanted to blow air to the gas pipework where he lived? There's only one possibility that I can think of. And that is to use the leaking gas to commit murder. Order! Order! Counsel. Precisely whose life do you propose this man was plotting to end? The answer couldn't be simpler now that we've unraveled the mystery this far. Mr. Shamspeer wanted to end the life of Male Strong. Oh, you're right, he's not on the list. Damn. Alright, well, Soseki, obviously.
Take that!
If a gas lamp were to go out, it would be noticed immediately, of course. But a gas stove, on the other hand, could be silently extinguished by the killer without anyone noticing. I live around those parts myself, so I know what it's like. I can tell you, trying to sleep without the stove lit is pretty much suicide. You freeze to death in no time. Mr. Garrett, the landlord, has a large fireplace in his part of the residence on the top floor. In other words, it wasn't the landlord, but a fellow lodger whose life Mr. Shamspeer was trying to end. Outrageous! I'm talking, of course, about the defendant. Mr. Natsume isn't the villain in this case. He's the victim this man was trying to murder. Good gracious!
Objection!
The accused is actually the aggrieved interesting. However, the fundamental facts of this case remain unchanged. Namely, that the accused is the aggressor here. What? How can you still claim that? Let us indulge your fancies for a moment and assume that there was indeed poison on the mouth of the gas pipe. The question that then arises is who put it there? Who did put it there? The only logical conclusion is that the person responsible was aware of this man's trickery with the gas supply and his intent to kill. Yes, that would indeed seem logical. If the assailant were unaware, how would he or she have been known to lace the end of the gas pipe with poison? So now we must ask, how could anyone have known of Mr. Shamspeer's murderous designs? You mean to suggest? Naturally, the sole possible answer to that question couldn't be more obvious. Only the man whose life was being threatened could have possibly have known. Okay. So, this is an interesting turn of events. I'm going to go ahead and let his theme play out because it sounds good. But let me go ahead and indulge this for a second. If Soseki laced the gas pipe with poison to kill Shamspeer before Shamspeer could try and kill him by extinguishing his stove, it doesn't really work. It's not like Natsume could claim self-defense. Shamspeer's attempt to kill him, if we're taking all this at face value, Shamspeer's attempt to kill him is kind of in the abstract. He's relying on either the gas leak or the freezing cold to kill Natsume, while Natsume is directly poisoning Shamspeer. It's not entirely analogous, but there is a torts case that existed where a guy was trying to prevent people from entering his an extra property he had. He did not live in it, but it was a house he owned that he knew people were breaking into here and again. So the guy set a trap in the house. He rigged it so that if someone opened the door to the house, a shotgun would go off and blow their legs off, pretty much killing them. Or seriously wounding them. And of course, lo and behold, an intruder comes up, opens the door, gets their leg blown off, and then sues. The guy goes and says, he was trespassing on my property. I have a right to defend my property. Ergo, I'm not liable for him getting his leg blown off. The court went, there's a measured response you need to take when you're defending an empty house. The court pretty much said, you can't rig lethal force to defend what is essentially an empty property, especially when that trap is the only response. There's no attempt to desist an intruder. It's just open my front door, your leg gets blown off. This is kind of like that. You're dealing with a rough abstract of a crime, and your response is to immediately go to murder. You can't claim self-defense, even though, yeah, that was a torts case, not a criminal action. I thought that was you couldn't make booby traps. I mean, in the large scale, yeah, you can't. That's another takeaway of the case, but in a more conceptual sense, it's kind of also setting the metes and bounds of when you can use lethal force in defense of property or yourself. However, I don't think it's actually a strict prohibition on booby traps. Straight up lethal traps that can, either kill someone or seriously maim them, definitely. But if you still want to go somewhat Home Alone with it, you may not be entirely prevented. That I have to look up again. The problem is, again, the locked door, yeah, like no one was arguing that the guy shouldn't have been trespassing. But the problem is, his punishment for trespassing was losing a leg, or maybe both legs, I don't even remember. It's still a measured response, especially for the fact that the guy was just protecting an empty house. No one was living there. There was no threat to anyone's safety. But he still decided to go, enter this house, I'm killing you. Or at least trying to. Anyway, so yeah. It's Van Zyke's... I don't know why Ryunosuke was trying to say... I mean, I guess he wasn't. But yeah, the strychnine problem is still here. Anyway, moving on. So putting a sign warning against lethal defenses would make it okay? Not really. Like, that would have helped. That would have been a good fact in his favor if he, put on the door, no trespassing or you die. But still, on the base level, trying to kill someone for trespassing is not a measured enough response. And that's your legal fact for the stream, unless something else comes up. Moving on. Only the man whose life was being threatened could have possibly known. What? In other words, the person who put the poison on the gas pipe in what was clear a retaliatory attack. Can only have been the accused, Mr. Soseki Natsume. Da! Yes, Zeke hits the nail on the head. Reasonability, when it comes to torts, reasonability is a big consideration. Attempting to kill someone for entering an empty house is not reasonable. Whatever Mr. William Shamspeer may or may not have contrived to do, he was nevertheless the victim of potentially lethal poison attack. The only person who could have possibly perpetrated that attack is the accused, Mr. Natsume. The defense counsel's theorizing has failed to revert the suspicion from the accused. Far from it. Sorry, I had to sneeze. In fact, now that the clear motive for the poisoning has been successfully established, that suspicion is greater than ever. You do not agree, my Nipponese friend? What if I dangle the piano above the door for aesthetic reasons and opening the door just happens to make it fall? Well, then you're liable. Because you knew it could cause harm if the door was opened. How did he manage to turn that around on me so rapidly? Mr. Naruhodo, you must respond. Otherwise, the members of the jury may very well change their leanings against us again. This may be our last chance to gain the advantage. What advantage? Well, it would seem that somebody put poison in the gas pipe in Mr. Shamspear's room. So we must name that person now and absolve Mr. Natsume of guilt. You mean, name the true culprit? I know it might sound impossible, but if we fail to do that, I have no doubt that Mr. Natsume's fate will be sealed once and for all. As it happens, one possible culprit does come to mind. The evidence, the poison, it's all pointing to a particular person now. The prosecution calls for the jury to consider their leanings again. I trust you'll make the correct choice this time, Mr. Foreman.
Objection!
There is one other person who I believe could have been involved in all of this. The true culprit of this crime. The true culprit? A term found only in second-rate novels featuring third-rate great detectives, my Nipponese friend. Ooh, shed full of landmines? Well, then we get to talk about curtilage of the home. But why not? This farce has gone on for so long already, I see no reason to cut it short before its disappointing climax. Just like another night with me in bed. Thank you. Tell us, my lord Nipponese friend, what is your latest theory? Who is the so-called true culprit of this crime? Well, male Strongheart isn't here. So that's your name, I forgot. Clearly, it's this dead guy. But really, it's you.
Take that!
The name of the person responsible for the poison that affected Mr. Shamspeer is, I believe, Miss Olive Green. Miss Olive Green. Miss Olive Green. I do feel as though I've heard that name in the recent past, Counsel, but I don't recall where. Miss Olive Green. The woman from 6 days ago. The victim in the recent case of the stabbing on Briar Road. An incident for which Mr. Natsume was arrested, I hasten to add. Of course, yes, Miss Green. She was left comatose for 3 days, I believe, but I hear she regained consciousness 2 days ago. But I hardly need to remind you that Mr. Shamspeer's poisoning took place 3 days ago. comatose in the hospital bed at the time, she appears to have a rather fine alibi. True, on the night that the incident occurred, Miss Green was in hospital unconscious. So on the face of it, it would seem that she couldn't possibly be responsible. But still. My colleagues and I visited Miss Green in hospital yesterday, and we found her to be in possession of a bottle of poison. Good gracious, she had poison! And there is another fact that links Miss Green to this case as well. The defense requests that she be brought to the witness stand in order to explain the details to the court. Tell me, Mr. Shamspeer. My lord, pray, what be thy bidding? Are you acquainted with Miss Green? Eh? No, never heard of her. Judging by the look on Mr. Shamspear's face, I think perhaps he generally doesn't know her, at least not by name. It's the voice of Her Majesty's prosecution here. I appeal to my lord. They will see my loyal Nipponese friend's farce through to its conclusion. I appreciate that. The prosecution requests a short recess, my lord, in order to subpoena the witness and bring her here. Yes, Miss Olive Green. Indeed, my lord. 1 hour should be sufficient. Very well, I grant the request. Time for a new stocking. Excellent, I hope. The defense has made a most extraordinary accusation, I must say. But at the present time, I feel the prosecution's argument remains largely uncontested. Accordingly, I'm afraid the defendant and his culpability remain the sole subject of this court's attention. Thank you, counsel. Reconvene in 1 hour. Court is adjourned. Oh, okay. This is interesting. So we're only an hour and 17 minutes into the stream. But we've already hit the midpoint between the trial. So now, do I want to try and keep going to finish the case? Or do I want to still stop here? If anyone in the audience has already played this case, without spoiling what happens, how much time do you think is in the last part of this trial? Because I'd like to stop as close to 9 as possible. So if it's going to go on for another hour and a half, that's still too much. Probably another hour, enough I'd say. The next part's kind of shortish. Okay, then you know what? I'll go ahead and save. And we'll go ahead and finish this. I mean, it's not a travesty if I have to go past 9. I'll be blunt with you. I want to watch Critical Role. But I can rewind. They take time to do ad reads anyway. So let's do it. I mean, I can save at any time, but you definitely... It's nice to have the stopping points. Joyful, jubilant, jumping jacks! Oh, Mr. Natsume, I'm so pleased for you. Locum student, Mr. Naruhodo Esquire, non-locum judicial assistant, Miss Nikatoba Esquires. Now, finally, at long last, there can be proof. Proof that I'm innocent, and proof that my tea is innocent. Ah, good morning, my dear fellows. Ah, Airlock Sholmes! May you drink my tepid tea and forever fall silent. I thought the tea was innocent. Oh, Mr. Sholmes, you came! How wonderful! Please, save your derision. I know what you're all thinking. Good morning, he says, when it's very nearly time for luncheon. Your scorn is written clearly across your faces. Nobody said or thought anything of the sort. I was. The truth is, I was determined that today would be the day, as sleep seduced me last night, I thought. Tomorrow, for once, I shall not oversleep. I'll rise early and be present in court to support my companions. Such a spirited determination has a beauty all of its own, does it not? Oh, yes. And then I began to muse on the subject. Why do people oversleep? I queried. Why, time after time, do they make the same foolish blunder? And the answer came to me at once. It was so delightfully simple. People oversleep because they sleep! Well, is that not astute insight into the matter? Oh, yes. Upon which realization, I attempted an experiment. I didn't sleep a wink all night. And the results? By first light, I was exhausted and began to be assailed by fits of drowsiness. Shocking. And so, the conclusion of last night's experiment is this. A good night's sleep is quite absolutely essential. Yes, I think most of us probably knew that already. What others presuppose, I prove by experimentation. That, my dear fellow, is the scientific method. Ah, yes, and one more thing. Do you remember this? Ah. Yes, of course, it's the poison Miss Green was about to drink at the hospital yesterday. Oh, you didn't manage to... It was a laborious task, but... Oh, as the bottle was near empty. But such inconveniences do not hinder Sholmes. I managed to confirm that it contained strychnine. So I was right. Perhaps, though of course such circumstantial evidence doesn't prove Miss Green's guilt. I shall leave the bottle in your care now, but licking the inside of the neck is not recommended. I'm tempted. Who's this? I'll go with my samey voice. Could I have a word? Gregson, how good of you to come! Forget it, excuse me. Wait a minute, Inspector. I don't wish to make a nuisance of myself. From the look of your face, I'd say it's someone else who you think is making a nuisance of himself. My dear Inspector, please speak freely. Pretend that I'm not here. Believe me, if I could do that, life would be a whole lot simpler for me. Do you have the results, Inspector, of the investigation in Mr. Shamspeer's room? Not yet. Shouldn't be long now, though. No, I'm here about something else. That dead convict, actually. Oh, you mean the man from this newspaper article we discovered yesterday in Mr. Shamspeer's room? A man by the name of... Ah, yes, Selden. I went through the archives at the yard and dug through the victim's file. There's something in there that... well, it caught my eye. Something caught your eye? What, Inspector, what? I'll copy out the relevant parts for you so you can read it yourselves. Thank you. These documents. Let's look at them now. 18 counts of burglary, 6 counts of suspected murder, died of natural causes whilst in prison, is found alone as witness only by his cellmate. Shamspeer was the cellmate. Manchester's Strangeway prison announced the death of convicted murderer and burglar Selden by natural causes. They had been suffering from fevers at the end of October. Alerted by the shouts of his fellow cellmate, medical staff arrived to find him already dead. Whoop, 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 whoop. It's a bottle rave. So this is the poison we've been hearing so much about. Strychnine. There are a few remnants at the bottom of the bottle. Here, look. You mustn't be tempted to try it. Of course not, as long as we don't lose this trial. No, even if we lose the trial. No, we mustn't lose the trial in the first place, Mr. Naruhodo. Make your mind up, Suzuki-san. I'm licking it. It's weird that the bottom of the bottle has that interaction. I guess there's something to be said about that. Include the details that were in the newspaper cutting we found in Mr. Shamspeer's room. I'll rearrange everything in the court records so we don't have duplicate information. She just crumbles up the newspaper and throws it out the window. Windows are great for getting rid of stuff. Why are you giving us a copy of this important file, though?
Well, you're the ones who turned up the clue in the first place, aren't you? I'm just making sure things get handled in proper fashion.
Oh, Scotland Yard's workings are so wonderful. Indeed, my dear fellows, and the inspector here is the shining diamond in its crown. Shining diamond in the rough, maybe.
Look, I just don't want to be beholden to a lawyer, that's all.
He left. Counsel for the defense in the defendant. Court proceedings are about to resume. Make your way to the courtroom at once. Well, I shall leave you then. I'll be listening with interest from the public gallery. No nodding off at all. Certainly not. Thank you, Mr. Sholmes. I'm rather tired of seeing Mr. Mustache in floods of tears personally, so the best of luck to you. Welcome, student Mr. Naruhodo Esquire. Yes, Mr. Natsume? It's time, isn't it? Yes, this is it. Miss Olive Green and Mr. William Shamspeer. This is going to be the final battle. I won't really have saved Soseki-san until I've exposed the whole truth of everything that's been going on. But it's all coming to a head now. You can do it, Rinosuke. You have to. See, a to be continued there would have been a bit better. In the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I hereby declare this court to be in session again now. Before the recess, we heard a most startling accusation from the defense. Namely that the victim of the case we heard here only a few days ago is the true perpetrator of this incident. A reckless, rash, and prejudiced charge of wrongdoing in my opinion, my lord. However, the prosecution has tried to extend every courtesy to this amateur newcomer from dubious eastern shores. Thank you for that backhanded consideration. A rather cold assessment from the honorable British prosecutor, I must say. So, Lord Van Zykes, is the new witness present and ready to take the stand? Sorry, I was just suddenly filled with doubt about Van Zyk's name. But it feels like it's too late to suddenly change it to Zeke's. Ready and waiting in the witness antechamber, my lord. Very well. Bailiff, bring in the witnesses. Hey, stop painting. Witnesses, state your names and occupations for the court, please. William Shamspeer, my liege. From mine occupation, I can say only that I be a tragic victim to be pitied. Currently unemployed, in other words.
I'm Olive Green. I'm a fledgling artist. Well, no, not a fledgling, really. A hopeless failure who's too weak-spirited to admit she has no talent, I suppose.
also currently unemployed, in other words. What a coterie. Mr. Shamspeer. My lord, I am thy humble servant. I'm afraid that you are no longer merely the victim in this affair. The possibility has been raised that you are in fact the assailant, intent on taking the life of your fellow lodger. The part you have played in this whole business will be thoroughly scrutinized, I assure you. I would for naught else, my lord. And Miss Green.
Yes?
You are aware of the reason you have been summoned to this courtroom today, I presume?
Yes, the officer did explain. I said I poisoned this ridiculous buffoon.
And, do you accept the charge, Miss Green?
I don't know anything about any poisoning. And I don't know anything about this man.
Come, lady, die to live. Verily, I know not thy prickly pea-pigmented personage. Very well, let us proceed with the matter at hand. That being to ascertain whether or not Miss Green has any involvement in this affair.
It's all very strange indeed. Why would you suspect me? I barely ever go to the East End anyway. And it so happens that I passed by that neighborhood 6 days ago, that's all. And on the night this man was poisoned, I was still in hospital fighting for my life.
Yes, having been unfortunately caught up in the incident on the street outside the Garrett household. Stab! An incident that rendered you unconscious for 3 days.
I was struck in the middle of my back by a knife through no fault of my own, and now I'm under suspicion? What other relevant things might I be suspected of? It's all very disturbing.
Your energies may be better spent worrying about random knife attacks, I feel, Miss Green. At this point in time, all that appears to connect you with Mr. Shamspeer's lodging is the Briar Road incident of 6 days ago. That's why. We would like you to testify formally now about what exactly happened.
Oh no! The incident 6 days ago? Do you mean you want me to relive that awful accident?
Unfortunately, yes. Please tell the court what happened that day. And of course, we will be interested to hear from you about your movements that day too, Mr. Shamspeer. But what happened 6 days ago has nothing to do with me being... whoa, where am I going with this accent? But what happened 6 days ago has nothing to do with me being poisoned. Let us proceed then. The witnesses will present their formal testimony to the court on the subject of the incident that took place on Briar Road, the evening of the 17th of February.
It was 6 days ago, about 5 p.m. I was walking along in the snow when I was suddenly stopped in the back. Coincidentally, it happened to be just outside the house where the man in this case have their lodgings.
I was at the tavern on the eve of which thou speakest, for I had bestowed my supper.
It was the first time I had been in the area. I had a little matter to attend to, that's all.
Yes, finding out who murdered your boyfriend.
Anyway, I was admitted straight to hospital, so I knew nothing about all this business.
Yes, a second incident inside a week at what I believe to be aptly described as the haunted lodgings. One can only presume that this is the most unfortunate coincidence. Meanwhile, you say you were not in your room, Mr. Shamspeer? 'Twas the following morn when I did awaken that I learned of the dire events. Mary, what a commotion did the officers of the law make on the floor above mine. When Saseki-san was arrested on suspicion of attempted murder. As suspected, there is nothing connecting these two witnesses but happenstance. It's true, but it does seem as though they are unrelated at first glance. But I'm not so sure. There's something lurking in the shadows here. I feel certain of it. And this is my one and only chance to expose it. Counsel, you may now cross-examine these two witnesses if you wish. Yes, my lord. I remember she talked about why she was going there. She was going specifically to the place Shamspeer was eating, but did she give us evidence on that? I don't... Yeah, and the envelope, but that's it. The rest doesn't really apply. Alright, yeah. So we don't have anything right at the start. Yeah, no, that's right. Technically right.
Hold it!
A tavern, you say? Which one? 'Twas the Slug and Salad where I did tarry. 'Tis a duel in the East End. And a little unexpected, I feel. What do you mean, Lord Van Zykes? The Slug and Salad offers unusually fine dining for the locality, at least. Not an assumption to expect to be patronized by a man with not even a crumb of bread in his room. It's true, the menu lists premium crust of bread and glasses of water in different levels of cloudiness. I would have expected grub's grubbery in the local vicinity to be more appropriate for your means. Watery soup with mushy peas, or rather soupy water and pea-like mush. All equally appetizing. I just wanted to try some water in a different pub for once. What's wrong with that? How different can water really be? Or perhaps there's a more plausible explanation. A specific reason why I had to go to that particular establishment? Agreed. The fact that on that day of all days, he dined at a place he wouldn't normally, it does stand out. So Mr. Shamspeer's own actions on the day of the incident 6 days ago were slightly suspicious. I only have some evidence that can explain those actions. Not at the moment, no. I wish we did, but sadly I can't think of anything at the moment. If we find a clue that could explain why Mr. Shamspeer went there, we must present it to the court. Yes, absolutely. Nah, just hold on to that. That is all in this council. I would ask Miss Green to read her next statement.
Hold it!
What little matter, Miss Green? Please elaborate.
It was nothing, really. It's not worth mentioning.
If you remember, you mentioned it to us yesterday at the hospital.
Oh,
It was related to the card you were holding. Yeah, I stopped you from killing yourself, remember? But you killed a mouse. You should feel bad about that. From memory, I believe the card contained a note that read, I have information regarding the death of Duncan Ross.
but what does that matter? It has nothing to do with Duncan.
Hello?
Excuse me.
Mr. Shamspeer, do you have something to share with the court? To be or not to be, that is the question. Ah, pray forgive me. The great bard's word springeth from within me with ne'er a thought. Don't tell me. It's because you're possessed by Shakespeare's spirit, right? Hearing Miss Green's words a moment ago seemed to make you think of something. Something of relevance, perhaps? Well, nay, sire, 'twas nothing at all. Presumably you know the name, though. Mr. Duncan Ross, I mean. After all, you're both lodgers in the same house. I would it were it so, but sadly nay. Lodging be a lonely occupation, sire. My lodging fellows be rarely known to me. So you haven't heard of him, even though he passed away in the room just one floor above yours? Eh? Miss Green.
Me, my lord? Have I done something wrong?
The car that was mentioned before, containing the note, do you have it upon your person?
I do, yes, but I don't need it anymore. In fact, I should throw it away, really.
Before you dispose of it, the court will take it as evidence, please. Oh, and look, it came with the envelope. Of course. That's what links Mr. Shamspeer and Miss Green. It's Duncan Ross. Now continue. Alright, so hold on. I don't care about any of that right now. What I want to do... The envelope has been ripped open rather carelessly, hasn't it? The screen strikes me as the type to open correspondence more neatly than that. Ah. What is it? The way the envelope is torn. I'm almost sure I've seen the exact same shape somewhere else. Oh, you don't mean... Were you thinking of this piece of evidence, Mr. Naruhodo? Exactly, that's it. Try to match them up. They go together perfectly. This torn off end of the envelope clearly belongs to this car. Alright, so now we have the evidence in question. Back it up. Can I look at this? The card itself? No. So now we have the evidence for this statement.
Hold it!
Why? Oh, okay. I assume this is an extrapolation of my conversation about the shotgun trap, that you're all talking about minefields now. Oh wow, I didn't notice the musical dings were softening. Mr. Shamspeer. Yes, sire? On the day in question, is it not the case that you visited the Slug and Salad, a place you don't normally patronize, for a very particular reason? I don't know what you're talking about. Pray, if thou hast some purpose, speakest. Very well, I will present the court with evidence. Evidence that explains why you had to be at the Slug and Salad that day, namely... this was in your room, so I'll present this.
Take that!
I believe this torn-off piece of envelope reveals the answer, because it fits together perfectly with the envelope of the card that was submitted into evidence earlier. Good lord, Miss Green's card, you mean? This judge is easily surprised. That's right, my lord. It reads, I have information regarding the death of Duncan Ross. Come to the Slug and Salad on Briar Road at 5 p.m. on the 17th. Don't tell anybody else about this letter or the meeting. It is a matter of utmost importance. Mr. Shamspeer, your actions on the afternoon of Miss Green's stabbing are exactly as described in this note. Personally, I find it hard to believe that's a coincidence. Don't you, Mr. Shamspeer?
Well... Excuse me, can I say something?
Yes, Miss Green?
That card was delivered to me. Doesn't have anything to do with this old man, does it?
Well, you think so, yes, but it's hard to believe it's merely...
My lord, may I?
May you what, Miss Green?
I'd like to make something very clear about that card.
Very well, then, you may amend your testimony to include details about the particular note. Okay, well, that does nothing. Oh, okay, so I guess I just present it again. So hey, if that has nothing to do with you, why is this in his room?
Objection!
The day before the incident, exactly 1 week ago now, this note was delivered to your address. And upon carrying out the instructions on the note, you found yourself in the hospital.
Yes, I did. It's terrible, everything that's happened to me.
Yes, it is terrible. If it's all true, that is.
What do you mean?
Miss Green, have a look at this, please. It's the torn off end of an envelope.
Oh, is it?
And it so happens that it fits together perfectly with the envelope of the note you received.
Where did you find that?
In Mr. Shamspeer's room.
In my room?
Mr. Shamspeer, do you perhaps remember this note from somewhere?
Well...
Your actions that afternoon follow the instructions in the note to the letter. Come to the Slug and Salad on Briar Road at 5 p.m. on the 17th. And so that's exactly where you went.
Yeah.
Let me ask you again, Mr. Shamspeer. You already knew about this note, didn't you? And you, Miss Green.
What did I do?
As this torn-off end of the envelope proves, the note was originally in Mr. Shamspeer's room. So how is it that it came to be in your possession?
I don't have the first idea. I'm just a fledgling artist, that's all.
There is only one explanation. You broke into Mr. Shamspeer's room and stole it. You did what? Man, I have to do him breaking character now. You did what?
So, thou hast what? Thou wast in my room?
What on earth do you want with me? How do I do Breaking Valley Thespian? It would seem that both witnesses need to testify again. Maybe I'll have it be that when he's shocked, he actually becomes a good bard. Miss Green.
Yes?
Whilst you'll have the court's sympathy, I'm sure, for the suffering you have endured in recent events, anyone found to be giving false testimony in the court of law will be duly punished. Okay, you can't say that now, because guess what the other guy's been doing this whole fucking time. Please bear that in mind.
Yes, oh no.
Very well then, witnesses, you will give formal testimony again now. On the subject of this curious anomaly regarding the note Miss Green claims to have received. I do remember now, 'twas a week ago, peradventure, that note was delivered unto me. On the day it went therein, I did tarry a long hour at the slug and salad, yet nobody came. Thereafter, on the evening I shared the company of the Japanese fellow, I did see the note had vanished.
I don't know what you mean. I think I snuck into this man's room. Did you? Why would I? I can point out the villain here, and as for that torn off piece in the envelope, I don't know anything about it.
You now claim to have received this letter, do you, Mr. Shamspeer? Faith, 'tis so, my lord, and I would swear to have set it upon the table in my humble lodgings. Yet 'tis clear to me now that since I returned from the tavern that night, I had not laid eyes upon it. Well, that being the case, young lady, it would appear that your testimony was...
A lie? Is that what you think? How unfair do you think I'm the one lying?
I beg your pardon?
I'm just a fledgling artist, as I said, and fledgling artists don't lie. That note was delivered to me at my address, besides. We all know who the liar around here is.
If that's true, Miss Green, how do you explain the facts? This part of the envelope was, without question, found in Mr. Shamspeer's room.
I don't see why I should explain.
What?
I'm a fledgling artist. My job here is just to say what happened, that's all. It's your job to give the explanations and the proofs. You, the fledgling lawyer.
The fledgling will do his best. Evidently, my learned friend's cross-examination is our only hope of learning the truth. Well, counsel? I'm ready, my lord. Very well, then. The defense will now proceed with the cross-examination of the witnesses. Miss Green clearly did break into Mr. Shamspeer's room. There can be no question of that. And that's how she acquired the note. Yes, two facts that are starting to lead me to a possible explanation for all of this. And it's not a pretty one. Well, why would you? Yeah, whatever. Well, obviously, our story is you're trying to kill him, so let's go ahead and talk about this.
Objection!
Yesterday at the hospital, we saw you with this bottle, and though the contents spilt during the course of our meeting, a small quantity remained. According to the defense independent analysis, and Mr. Holmes' chemistry set, the liquid that was still in the bottle was identified as strychnine. What? Strychnine? The very same poison that afflicted Mr. Shamspeer. Miss Green, you broke into this man's lodgings for one reason and one reason alone. To cover the end of the pipe that feeds the gas lamp in Mr. Shamspeer's room with poison. I like how even Shamspeer's like, really? Can this be? You broke into my room, too? It may seem incredible to the court, but from the remaining clues, there is only one logical conclusion that we can reach. The person who attempted to take Mr. Shamspeer's life with poison was you, Miss Olive Green.
Oh dear me!
Don't look up her bloomers! Order! Counsel, are you seriously suggesting this woman put poison on the end of the gas pipe with the intent to kill? No, Your Honor, she put poison on the end of the gas pipe to make an intent to joke. Yes, my lord. There's no other way to explain the facts. What if Miss Green did intend to set this odious trap 6 days ago, and the victim had put his mouth to the pipe that very evening as expected? The attempted murder would have happened 6 days ago, surely. Well, that's a very good point.
Perhaps not, my lord.
I beg your pardon?
There was a significant police presence in the area that evening on account of the incident on Briar Road. The residents were being interviewed throughout the night as part of an ongoing inquiry. A circumspect criminal could likely have chosen not to carry out any wrongdoing at the time.
Lord Van Zeiss. And of course, the following morning, there was more activity at Mr. Shamspeer's address. More activity? Yes! You mean his fellow lodger, Mr. Natsume, being arrested on suspicion of murder? That's right. And the defense has already proposed. Mr. Shamspeer was meddling with the gas pipe for the very sinister reason himself, to cause the gas still in Mr. Natsume's room to go out, thereby asphyxiating the occupant. But once Mr. Natsume had been arrested, his room was under constant surveillance by police. In the circumstances, Mr. Shamspeer had no reason to blow air into the gas pipe.
His intended victim being in the prison cell. With the need to tamper the gas removed, the poison and the poison on the pipe lay dormant.
And then, 3 days ago now, the situation changed again. Right, Mr. Natsume's trial, which took place here at the Old Bailey, came to an end.
The trial in which the man stood accused of stabbing Miss Green in the back was duly acquitted.
That resulted in Mr. Natsume returning to his lodgings for the first time in 2 days. And that very night, his gas stove mysteriously went out, and Mr. Shamspeer was mysteriously poisoned. In conclusion, the poison that was present on the mouth of the gas pipe had been put there in the victim's room some 4 days earlier. Mary! With that new understanding, it becomes clear that this letter was all part of the plan.
What plan?
The court will recall that the note gave instructions to visit the slug and salad at 5 o'clock, and that the recipient should tell nobody else. The reason for those instructions are now clear.
To ensure that the lodger would not be at home at the stated time.
To make sure I wasn't home? Exactly. While you were out, Miss Green could safely slip into your room, knowing that she wouldn't be disturbed. You mean to say that the letter was written by Miss Green? Yes. In order to cover her tracks, she took it away with her when she left. Just after she smeared poison over the mouth of the gas pipe in your room. She hasn't been painting anything at all! Order! Order! What do you have to say for yourself, witness? Sorry, Santa Claus lost the accent too. Just who are you? Why are you trying to kill me? Miss Green's motive should be obvious. It's all tied up with someone whose name we've heard several times already during the course of this trial.
So that's what's behind all this.
You will share your apparent understanding with the court, please, counsel. Which person is behind this woman's motive? Okay, yeah, this guy, because he's dead.
Take that!
Duncan Ross? That's right. Before the defendant, Mr. Natsume, took up residence at the lodgings of Mr. Garrett's, somebody else was renting the room. Mr. Duncan Ross.
I knew I've heard that name somewhere else.
It was all over the papers a month ago. Then the man died in strange circumstances at the haunted lodgings.
That does ring a vague... Ah, of course, yes! I remember now.
Do you?
The young man, they claim, was strangled by the convict's curse or some such.
Sadly, my lord, it wasn't a curse of any kind, nor was it an accident. The man died as a result of Mr. Shamspeer blowing into the gas pipe and causing a gas to leak into the room.
It was murder, plain and simple.
Ja!
Well, what do you know? The world is so unfair. Curses, furious deaths, that's all people care about. It's an interesting story they want to know. It doesn't cross their minds that real people are involved. And once they're bored, just 1 month later, once the story's lost its appeal, everyone's forgotten him.
You mean you? Duncan was...
Mr. Ross was Miss Green's fiancé.
Fiancé?
You may not have known until now who Miss Green really is, Mr. Shamspeer. But she's known exactly who you are all along. Because you're her sworn enemy. The murderer who took the life of the man she was to marry.
Mary?
Miss Green, is it not the case that in order to exact revenge on Mr. Shamspeer, you smeared poison over the end of the gas pipe? Take the easel down if you're not going to paint anything. This is all quite extraordinary. Am I correct in my understanding that you now accuse both parties, counsel? Each on different counts of murder?
You're right, Judge. This court's gone crazy, and I'm the chief lunatic!
Yes, my lord, that is correct.
Objection!
Inhaling so deeply, it appears that my fledgling learned friend has taken a lungful of dubious gas that's causing his judgment to be clouded.
What?
Why would Mr. Shamspeer have wanted to kill these lodgers, as you say? You have completely failed to provide the motive to substantiate your accusation against the man.
Yes, that's right, Mr. Leaper, my liege. I have been slighted. Oh, 'tis lies, all lies. I deny every utterance.
And you'll have to forgive me, Mr. Naruhodo, sir. But I don't intend to admit to anything either.
Miss Green.
I'm sure you think I'm being very rude, but I'm not going to be sent to the gallows for the likes of this scoundrel.
Objection!
But you broke into the man's room. If you didn't do it to smear poison on the pipe, what was your reason?
I thought I had to look around, that's all.
B to the S, Miss Green. Sorry?
You're right, I suspected him. So I thought perhaps I might find some evidence or something in his room. Evidence that it was him who took Duncan's life.
Oh vileness, oh villainy, oh tyranny, oh rotundity of woman. But in any case, when I leave the room, I do turn the key in the lock.
That whole place is falling apart. The locks and the doors are no different. Duncan showed me how once to unlock the door with some terps and a piece of wire.
Oh awfulness, oh awfulness, oh tyranny, oh profanity of woman.
We will consider your trespassing on some future occasion, but for now, tell the court what you found. What evidence your search revealed?
Well, I spotted the note that I sent him lying on the floor. When I went to pick it up, I noticed something. One of the floorboards was loose, and underneath it I discovered a secret hiding place.
Eh?
Yes, we also discovered that hiding place. Inside we found a newspaper cutting, a photograph, and an empty tin box.
Oh yes, well the thing is, when I found it, the box wasn't empty.
What? There was something in it?
Yes. This rather nice key.
Gah! What? What are you doing with that? What the? Every ounce of color is drained from his face. Give it here! Give it to me now! It's mine! I inherited it! What was that, witness? What did you say? You inherited it? No, what's this all about? He inherited that key?
It was obviously important to you since you'd gone to such lengths to hide it, so I took it. I don't know what it's for, but you took something precious from me, so I took something precious from you. So what if you can't open something now? I don't care.
Give it back to this minute. Give it to me. Calm yourself, witness. So Mr. Shamspeer has tried, and in one case succeeded, to take the life of 2 lodgers now. Yes, his motive for doing so is the key to everything that's happened. It's true that there appears to be no motive to support the accusation against Mr. Shamspeer, first. But considering everything we know now, I think there is actually something that could explain it. What? We need to recall every piece of evidence to at our disposal. Everything we've seen and heard. Because I'm sure they just caught that glimpse of the link that runs through all these events. In that case, counsel, I must demand that you present evidence to the court in support of your claim. What is it that you can explain the motivation for Mr. Shamspeer's alleged crime? This.
Take that!
That's an official police report, is it not?
The Selden. How did you get a hold of that? Selden? The now sadly deceased Mr. Ross and the defendant Mr. Natsume have only one thing linking them. The fact that they have lodgings in the same room. Well, yes, we know this, certainly. A room that was formerly occupied by Selden. Until that is, he was arrested by Scotland Yard for his involvement in multiple burglaries. I see. And it so happens that the convict Selden left behind one very substantial mystery when he died. Though some 1,000 pounds worth of loot that he stole, which as yet remains to be found. Ah, yes, of course, it's coming back to me now. It's written in this file here. I remember condemning him to death. 1,000 pounds lost in loot to hell. That was how this paper summed it up. And it seems that one particular fellow inmate was with the convict in his final moments. It's not hard to imagine Selden entrusting that inmate with his most closely guarded secret, the location of the stolen loot, and perhaps a key to unlock whatever container of the valuables were in.
You mean this key is?
Mr. Shamspeer, it was you, wasn't it? You were at the capital offender's side when he died, were you not? What? What are you talking about? 'Tis a false charge, I tell you, a false charge! The name of the inmate who was the Selden of his death isn't noted in this file. But a simple telegram to the prison where he died would quickly tell us how false the charge really is. Dig! But even if that's true, why would the man be so intent on killing every subsequent occupant of the convict's lodgings? Judge, keep up. Where do you think the treasure is? There's only one explanation for that, my lord. It was in that very room that Selden had hid his loot. So it all comes out. Yes, and having established that, all of Mr. Shamspeer's subsequent actions start to make perfect sense. Then he was let out of prison following Selden's death. He made immediately for Mr. Gardev's lodgings in the hope of renting Selden's old room. However, the retired army man was unable to offer him the accommodation of his choice. Because Selden's old room had already been let to someone else, Mr. Duncan Ross.
Oh.
Which is why Mr. Shamspeer subsequently devised his gas-based plot to kill the occupant of the room. And then he was successful. He presumably intended to inquire about switching to the newly vacant room. However, certain jittery someone had beaten him to it.
Mr. Soseki Natsume, the defendant of this case, no less.
So you decided to use the ploy with the gas again, didn't you, Mr. Shamspeer? This time to oust Mr. Natsume. All for one simple and avaricious reason. To get your hands on the 1,000 pounds of loot left behind by the dead convict. Offline.
It looks like I'm gonna snuff it before they stretch my neck. Listen, I want you to have me loot. Anything to stop the coppers getting their mitts on it. It's hidden in the room where I was lodging with them that got me. Here, this is the key to open it. Take it. Always stay one step ahead, mate. See you in hell, I guess. Shamspeer.
Simon. What did he just say? It's mine. That loot is mine. Shit. Mr. Shamspeer. It's all lies. I don't accept any of it. Why should I? After all, you don't have a shred of evidence. You can't prove I killed that fellow. Forsooth, I'm the victim here, remember? Isn't that right, ladies and gentlemen? If I don't admit to it, there's nothing you can do. You can't arrest me, for the time being anyway. Verily, you can't arrest the victim, can you? Isn't that right, ladies and gentlemen? I'm so close, I just need a few more hours. This is also going to be a good screen cap. I swore to myself that I'd get my hands on it, and I can almost taste it now. Do you think I'd just give up? There's no question in my mind now. This man is guilty through and through. He seems so utterly intoxicated by the idea of that loot. I'm afraid that however hard you press him, he'll never admit to what he's done, Mr. Naruhodo. There is a way. Pardon? There's one way I can finish him. No! He's already committed the most heinous crimes to get his hands on that loot. Which means all we need to do is find it first! A fine plan. Were it not for the fact that the police thoroughly searched the room following the death of Mr. Ross. If it's there at all, it must be very well hidden indeed. Without conclusive evidence, I certainly cannot rule. If only there was some way we could find the convict's loot quickly. This is the final piece in this complex puzzle. But I think we might have it in our possession already. Or rather, I think we may well have something that can help us find where the loot is hidden. My lord! Yes, counsel? The defense would like to make a proposal about how to find the late convict's hidden loot. I believe we are already in possession of something that would give us a clue as to its whereabouts. Nope, hold on. And there. It's our last chance, so it has to be worth a gamble. Besides, we've used the same technique once already, and it definitely paid off then. Very well then, counsel. Let the court hear your idea. What do you propose we can use in order to locate the hiding place of the deceased convict's hull? Well, shit. Do we... No. Is this it? I mean, we are... This was about the gas pipe, though. Oh, wait! If we can get the handprints from the key, we can try and find the loot. Got it. Got it. It's this.
Take that!
If I'm not mistaken, those are Mr. Shamspeer's handprints on the wall of his lodgings. That's right, my lord. Exposed as a result of the defense's independent investigation of the scene. Based on a wonderful new discovery in the field of forensic science by the great detective, Mr. Sholmes, which we already said. A great detective? Is this some kind of joke? Do you really think I'm going to be daunted by a man with such a ridiculous title? Well, we know he's in the gallery, so I think this is a good guess. I should think the great bard ought to recognize such a title when he hears one, Mr. Shamspeer. Perhaps we should compete for the honor of the most ridiculous title. Okay, hold on. I might be able to use this too. Not as a thumbnail, but I'm taking it. Duh! 'Tis Sherlock Holmes himself! What are you doing here, great detective? Your usual haunts are usually filthy back streets of the capital, are they not? Ah, Mr. Reaper, it's been too long. And I see your complexion has worsened since last we met. Mr. Sholmes! He does know Lord Van Sykes then. I don't have to say something like that in any case. Mr. Sholmes, you may be hailed as a great detective by the population at large. It does not give you the right to come and go in my courtroom as you see fit. If I may, my lord, Mr. Sholmes' newly developed scientific method has helped us to uncover vital clues in this case already. Clues, you say? I call them skin prints, my lord. My method identifies every location touched by an individual under scrutiny. It's the method by which we were able to ascertain this gentleman's gas pipe activities. Duh! You need only a small sample of something the individual has previously touched to make an indicator solution. In your case, sir, I used the teacup you had been holding. Elementary! So now, Mr. Naruhodo. Ah, yes? What am I to use as a sample to make the indicator solution this time? Thank you for offering to help, Mr. Sholmes. When the convict was arrested, he was living in what is now Saseki-san's room. We need to sample this to help locate Selden's loot that's hidden in his old room. What form will Semperov take? I mean, it's not the evidence I have, so I can only assume you want me to do this and point to Olive. We will need something of Selden's in order to create the indicator solution to find his loot, and something the convict owned happens to be in the possession of somebody listed in the court record. Upon my word, Mr. Naruhodo, your powers of reasoning appear to be on the up. So, which particular person do you have in mind? From whom can we obtain the possession of the late convict, Selden, to create the indicator solution? It's you, Olive Crane!
Take that!
Miss Green.
Oh, me? What do you want to do with me?
The key around your neck, if you please.
Sorry?
We already know Lord Strongheart's on the court record, sadly, so we can't do it. That key belonged to Selden. There will be remnants of secretions from the man's skin on the surface that we can use. Very true! That is the sample we need. Using it, we can create the indicator solution required for Mr. Sholmes' skin print seeker. SPS. and find out exactly what Selden touched in the room that he used to rent. Mr. Shamspeer is one great to another, I assure you. If the late convict's hull is hidden somewhere in his former lodgings, I shall uncover it in no more than 30 minutes. So, Mr. Shamspeer, the truth is well within our grasp now, and as such, you will never get your hands on Selden's stolen wealth.
In that case, I'll gladly let Mr. Sholmes have this key.
No! Give the key to me! The detective shan't have it! It's over, Mr. Shamspeer. No. No! You're out of options now. There's only one thing left for you to do. Admit your guilt. Whoa. Oh, shameful spear! Despair! Be thy name! He exploded into confetti and died. I never intended to kill the man. I wanted to drive him out of the room, that's all. So you'd have time to find the convict's haul of stolen goods? Yet after you killed the young man, you still didn't move into the room. I asked the landlord, of course. I pleaded with him, but he refused. Why? I was 3 months behind with the rent, for one thing. Mr. Garrett really has had a lot to put up with. And he had the gas repair work done immediately afterwards, putting the room out of action for a while. And then this Japanese man swooped in just the right moment to sign the new lease. Poor Mr. Natsume, what unfortunate timing. Then 5 days ago, after the incident on Briar Road when the Japanese fellow got himself arrested, I thought I'd finally have my chance, but it wasn't to be. No, the scene was sealed off and guarded by the police night and day. And if I remember rightly, Mr. Sholmes spent the whole day in there reading books. I couldn't even enter the room, let alone search for the loot. Which is why on the day Mr. Natsume was acquitted and returned to his room, you once again tried your trick of blowing air into the gas pipe that feeds the stove in his room. Unbeknownst to you, however, that action would lead you into a deadly trap.
William Shamspeer, how does it go? To be or not to be, that is the question.
From Shakespeare's Hamlet, Act 3, Scene 1.
Well, let me tell you, in your case, it's not to be. That's the answer. You deserve to die for what you've done. At first, I really did think it was just a terrible accident. I'll never forget our conversation the night before Duncan died. The gas supply...
Oh. The gas supply in my new lodgings are complete... No, that's too much like Shamspeer. The gas supply in my new lodgings are a complete disaster, you know, Olive. The gas
supply?
Yes, the stove always seems to go out in the middle of the night for some reason. That's no joke. They say it's the convict's curse.
Oh, Duncan, please don't stay there. I don't care how cheap it is.
Alright then, if it's that important to you, I'll start looking for a new place tomorrow.
There are spare rooms at my house. Why don't you leave that horrible room tonight?
No, I'd better not. We said we'd wait until we graduated before we told our parents, remember? I have such a bright future ahead of me.
But that was the last time we ever spoke. That night he fell victim to the gas. If I'd only known it was going to happen, I've insisted that he left that horrible room that instant. But instead, all I've been left with is bitter regret. I stopped going to school. But something kept drawing me back to the house on Briar Road. I saw a stooped Eastern-looking man with a moustache coming out of the house one day when I was there. He walked up the road to Grub's Grubbery for some food, so I followed him and sat myself down next to him. He had some watery-looking soup and started to pick a quarrel with the publican.
That place is cursed, I tell you, cursed! The ghost of that convict used to live there. It's trying to suffocate me! I wake up in the middle of the night, freezing to death because the stove has gone out. The room is full of gas and I can hardly breathe. But the pipes have been checked, no problem there. It's like I'm the problem. That's what they're thinking.
But how could that be? Duncan was gone and now this man had almost suffered the same fate. Could it really be a curse? Then I remembered a rumor I heard about how the gas companies go around investigating the gas installations.
A rumor? Ah, you mean?
Yes, everybody's heard the stories, it seems, about how they go around checking the pipes. They've got gas men blowing everybody.
How anything connected to the gas can be extinguished by blowing air into the pipework.
That's when it started. A little flicker of doubt in the back of my mind that just wouldn't go away. Was it really an accident, though? I said through my chubby cheeks. Once I had the idea, it wouldn't leave me alone. It plagued me day and night. So I bought this at one of the black markets in the East End.
A black market?
I'd never been, I just heard people talk about them. And you really buy anything you can think of there. For some reason I didn't get a hitman, I just got some poison. In some ways, being able to get my hands on this so easily made me even more determined. So I had to find out one way or another. Was Duncan's death an accident, or was it murder?
And your chosen method for establishing the truth was simple but highly effective. Smear poison on the gas pipe you suspected the man of tampering with, and wait.
If Mr. Shamspeer was innocent, nothing would come of what you'd done. But if he was guilty, he would pay for his crimes dearly.
I found out the name of the man I suspected, William Shamspeer. And then I wrote him this little note. It said all these things about Duncan Ross, and I made him wet his willies. Yeah, go to the slug and salad, I don't care if you can't afford it. Don't tell anybody or I'll gut you like a fish. If he'd done it, I knew it. That worried him enough so he'd be sure to go. So I waited to see if it worked.
And of course, Mr. Shamspeer followed the instructions to the letter.
I worked out where the gas pipe was straight away. So I smeared a good amount of the poison I bought all around the mouth of the pipe. All the time praying that the devil's work wouldn't be done, and this was all just some wild fantasy. Actually, no. All the time praying that the devil's work would be done, and that culprit would get his just deserts.
What? Huh? They didn't spell it right.
It's supposed to be just desserts. 2 S's. Has anyone seen it with just 1 S? Is that a typo, or do I just not even understand the idiom anymore? Whatever. Is that a fat pun? I wish. I've been low-blowing Miss Green this whole time. Pun intended. Oh, right. She's convicted. 3 days ago, when you were first stood in the dock before me, this whole affair seemed relatively straightforward.
Yes, my lord!
I certainly never imagined the depths of depravity that we should subsequently find lurking behind the scenes. It has been a long road, my Nipponese friend. But I still think you are guilty.
Oh, yes.
And one I certainly didn't envisage walking with you. Nevertheless, together we have reached the light at the end of the tunnel, as it were. Miss Green,
Yes, my lord?
you will henceforth be stripped of your freedom. As punishment for the attempted murder of Mr. William Shamspeer. You're getting some coal this Christmas. Zacharias, thank you for the 41-month resub. These guilty people are for you.
Yes, I know.
And you, Mr. Shamspeer, you will be tried for the murder of Duncan Ross in cold blood. And the subsequent attempted murder of Mr. Soseki Natsume here present.
Mr. Naruhodo, I'd like that poison back if you still got it.
Yes?
Yesterday at the hospital, when you and your friend stopped me from
ending your life by drinking what was left of the poison bottle?
I wasn't myself. I can't even really remember what was going through my mind. To be or not to be, I suppose. That's a question that's so hard to answer, it seems.
Well, personally, I'm glad of your being here, Miss Green.
Oh!
And I like to believe that it's a blessing Mr. Shamspeer didn't die when he ingested the poison. For your sake, at the very least. Now you only get 5 years of hard labor. Maybe that's enough to work the weight off.
Because of you, I chose life, not death. And now you've made the truth come out at last. Really, I can't thank you enough.
Oh, Miss Green.
Oh, whoops, sorry, I was still pinching my cheek. Mr. Soseki Natsume.
Yes, my lord.
The court declares that you are exonerated from all blame in this matter. Again. Accordingly, I would call upon the ladies and gentlemen of the jury to present a verdict of not guilty. We are in full agreement, my lord. In that case, I hereby declare the defendant... Wait, they didn't even... Wow, they just jumped right to directed verdict. Nice. They didn't even get a full unanimous verdict. Hey, fireworks. Still diegetic. What fun. Court is adjourned. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. Like Soseki gets on the boat back to Japan tonight. I've had enough of this country.
Oh, yes, at last. divine justice duly done!
Divine justice? My dear fellow, if there were any divine justice in this world, you should shave that mustache.
No, this has nothing to do with my mustache!
Some say that a luxuriant mustache is a sign of physical prowess, Mr. Shelms.
Locum student Mr. Naruhodo Esquire! Once again, you've saved me from doom!
I'm very happy to have been able to help, Mr. Natsume. Congratulations on your acquittal. Your second in almost as many days.
I was first acquainted with and gained affection for English literature whilst in our great homeland empire. And then, by twist of fate, I was brought to a land that bore the fruit of that literature. Only, the city of bricks and mortar became my prison. Otherwise, I might have never found my feet here.
I feel like we had this whole conversation last time, but here we go again.
In the end, I confined myself to my room and lived life through friendly old books.
You've had such a difficult time, haven't you?
Ah, but a week ago now, I dragged you out of that dark and dingy room of yours, did I not?
You did, and I've seen more life in this week than all my years to date. And for the first time, I feel I've begun to see the true face of the English that's so far been hiding from me behind a wall of fog.
My dear fellow, there is nothing special about the true face of the English, as you put it. We're just everywhere. Wheresoever one goes in the world, humans are human. There are a few genuine differences.
Yes, I think you're right. They finally started to see that, and I've come to understand something. You suck! I worked out why I was attracted to English literature in the first place. It made me see that whatever our nationality, we humans have the same hopes and fears. We're all just doing our best to live.
Well said. I come to feel the same way.
I've made a decision, too. I'm going to cut short my study tour here and return to Japan.
I feel like, didn't you say that at the end of the last case, though? Didn't he? I feel like he did. A lot's happened, but I really feel like he was already saying he was going home.
What?
Just when we become friends here in England. What a terrible shame.
Oh, I know. It does tug at my heartstrings. It really does. But I've decided I'd like to take everything I've learned here in Britain and write something of my own. Why London Sucks, an autobiography. A novel of sorts, I suppose.
Oh my, so you'll be creating your own literature, Mr. Natsume? How wonderful!
Oh, well, no, I mean, I wouldn't presume to call it literature.
Why not? When it is precisely the definition, Mr. Mustache.
I suppose you're right, I guess. It will, in a way, be literature. But as of now, all I know is that I like to try my hand at writing. I have no delusions of grandeur.
I, for one, would love to read your work.
Well, all things considered, it may be for the best. After all, you have once again emerged victorious. From a battle with the Reaper.
Oh, that's very true. And there is no salvation for a person in the dock when the Reaper is the persecutor.
The desire to return post-haste to the perceived safety of your homeland is one I quite understand.
My goodness, yes, faced with such a terrifying prospect. Nobody would consider that cowardly, I'm quite sure.
But that's not why I'm leaving. I mean it.
And that was the case that we found ourselves embroiled in 6 months ago now. So Seki-san did indeed turn to Japan and submitted a report about both cases to the government. It was on reading that report that Professor Mikatoba was prompted to visit the scholar. And barely any time later, Suzawa-san was given the news that she must return to Japan as well, on false pretense.
on the back of a telegram saying falsely that her father had fallen gravely ill. The only possible explanation that comes to mind is what happened after the trial on the following day, the day that we uncovered the loot hidden by the now deceased convict in his former lodgings. It went on for another hour. It's going on for another 2 hours, folks. I feel deceived.
Oh, well done, Mr. Sholmes. How simply marvelous of you. To uncover the secret hiding place in just one day.
Wasn't it supposed to take 30 minutes?
As I believe I told you, my dear fellow, skin prints are extremely useful in such situations. Wouldn't you agree, Gregson?
Gregson's been happily munching in agreement this whole time, you know, Early.
Happily, I think perhaps humorously might be closer to the truth.
So, it transpires the man fashioned a hiding place in the ceiling.
And what's in it? What's exactly the loot?
Let us look then, if you're ready. Let's examine the late burglar's hall. What is that?
It looks like Male Strongheart's BDSM collar.
It looks like to be some sort of neckband or collar. A collar? It's huge, though.
And look at all the gemstones set in it. I can see why it was claimed to be worth £1,000. Perhaps I could have it as a belt.
Oh, have you noticed the inside there? Some dark stains.
You don't think they could be blood, do you? I mean, there's quite a lot of it.
On second thoughts, perhaps I won't have it as a belt.
Then of course there's this emblem here. A large letter B and a small crown.
It's Bizithith.
What does it signify, do you think?
Oh, I hadn't noticed that. I feel as though I've seen that emblem somewhere before, you know. Where could it have been?
Baskerville?
That's enough of that, I think. What? What's the matter with Mr. Sholmes?
All the color is drained from his face.
Well, Inspector, I believe you ought to be taking this on, don't you? It'd be valuable evidence, after all. It should be kept safely under lock and key.
Yeah. Get your grubby hands off that, you lot. Hand over, now.
I'd never seen a collar that large before. And all those jewels certainly look to be extremely valuable. But that's not what stood out the most to me. At least, not once I'd noticed it. Those dark marks on the inside of the collar. Those stains. Could they really have been blood?
Well, that was a funny case, wasn't it? But it's all buttoned up now.
And you look very pleased, Iris.
I am, because I was starting to wonder what I could use as the basis of this month's story in the magazine. But this case will be perfect. It's been so fascinating.
You're talking about the latest installment of... Oh, missed an L. The Adventures of Sherlock Sholmes, I presume?
The mystery of the knife in the mist and the mustached man and the convict's curse, perhaps. I could make it a 2-part story. Oh, I can't wait.
A word, please, Iris.
Yes, what is it, Early?
I'm sorry, but you can't write about this case. It's out of the question.
What? Why not? It's a great case.
I'm going to have to bring out my memory eraser now. Everyone look here. Then I shall have to insist that you limit yourself to the first of your 2 titles. The second must never be written. Is that clear?
Yes.
And so it was that the second of Souseki-san's cases became buried in obscurity. Now, looking back, I feel I understand. I can see why Mr. Sholmes forbade Iris from publishing the story. It would take a little longer before I saw the link between everything that had happened and would happen. For it wasn't until 2 months after the arrival of Susato-san's letter that events began to unfurl again. With an incident that took place at the very heart of the eagerly awaited Great Exhibition of London.
That guy doesn't sound like me. Alright, well, that could have been its own stream, but oh well, I guess it won't be. So that's episode 2 of game 2 of the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. Oh boy, starting to slur. Been sampling too much of the Hallowed Chalice. Thank you guys for joining me. I will be back tomorrow at the usual time with more Skyrim. Hopefully doing enough that Helgen can finally be reborn and I can be installed as a Jarl. Who knows? But in any case, let's see if I can't send you guys off somewhere. I know I was talking about Critical Role, but it's a weird thing to have you guys raid them in the middle of a session. Is Nick still streaming? He's not. Then let us... Let's do Octopimp. Haven't done Octopimp in a while. Hope everyone has a great night. I hope I will see you guys tomorrow. And until then, stay safe, stay sane, stay slippery. Goodbye!